All right. Hello everyone. Welcome back to another Clossi Approach series video. Don't mind the mess behind me. I'm in a new office locations. If you're in stream, you know the story. If not, not relevant to the video. But we are here with another Clossi Approach series video, and we are starting the 15Q to 10Q section. And yeah, so first up, we do have a 13Q volunteer. So thank you, Rama, for volunteering. What we're going to be doing is actually we're going to be doing the exact same thing we've been doing. From the 19Q to 15Q, I was showing you guys how to apply the double digit Q basics. So we're going to keep doing that because that works until 19Q. But if you're 15Q to 10Q, especially if you're 13Q to 10Q, usually what that means is you're doing some of the Clossi approach correctly, but you're messing up something else. So in this section, we're going to be working on identifying which part of the Clossi approach are you missing. So we're going to keep doing the exact same thing, and then we're going to focus more on the reviews and working on identifying, in this case for white, which part of the Clossi approach is white missing. And we're gonna work on how to identify that. We're gonna go through and we're gonna do 5 examples again, from 15Q to 10Q, and just keep talking about that. Give you guys more and more examples. And then after that, we'll finally be in single digit Q, which I know chat is excited for. All right, so let's go ahead and resume this game. I am black this game, so I will do a star point and 3-4 point. I think that'll be fine. Okay, we'll do open corners first. All right. So in this case, the whitest side is the right, and I can either do a Shamari, I can do a Chinese. I know a lot of people like Chinese. We're getting closer to single digit Qs, so we'll start. We're gonna at single digit Q, you're gonna need to start studying some openings. So I think it'd be good to go ahead and maybe just start now, if you want to. Like it's not the highest priority, but it's nice to know an opening if you know it. All right, so we have the low side and the top side. The top side is 2/4 lines. The low side is a fourth line and a third line, so the top should be slightly more valuable. So I can enclose, I can approach, and I can play an extension. I'll go ahead and give you guys a hint. The extension is a little bit old-fashioned. I do recommend you play it and learn how it works. But once you know how it works, I think the enclosure or approach is a little bit more modern. At least in the year that I'm recording this. I don't know where it's gonna be 5 years from now. So I would say enclosure or approach, and I think a lot of people like approaching, so we'll just approach. I think it's more active and exciting. Um, but enclosure I think is actually really powerful here. I think a lot of people don't understand like how good that is though. So I think a lot of people would approach. All right, so we have a couple options. We have slide and we have jump back. This one is a little bit above this level, so we're just going to do our basic Joseki. I like learning things in order. I like learning our basics first, like this basic Joseki first. And then when we get to the level of learning this one, which is 9Q, then we can start playing it. If you play too advanced too early on, you kind of make the game harder for yourself. Okay, so this is actually a really good move because this is actually not good to have two low stones to a star point. So one of these two moves will be bad. That's why you usually would go high here, but it's fine. It's not that big of a deal. At this level, it doesn't matter. So all I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go for the corner in this case. But it doesn't really matter which one I block if I'm going for the corner. I'll go this way because I think this one's a little bit more solid than this one. So I'll push white to the solid one and I'll show you what I mean. So I'm going to double Hane. I'm going to do our double digit Q Joseki of double Hane. He Atari's, and then I'm just going to take the corner and let him live on this side. I think that should be simple enough. Okay. And I know about Joseki. And you'll see that when I actually give white the outside here, you'll see that I'm strong right here. And if white was over here, then this stone would actually be a little bit weaker than this stone. And that's why I chose this direction. And it's good to think about direction. Whenever you choose a Joseki, whenever you have a choice, it's really good to think about direction. I want you to build that habit early on. You may not be perfect at it. You may actually make the wrong choice most of the time, but it's better to think about it than to just play it blindly. I think playing it blindly is a really, really bad habit that a lot of people at this level will develop, is just playing their Joseki choice blindly without actually thinking through their options. Okay, so white settled. This corner's done. This position is okay because I have a slide. So if there's a stone on both sides of a two-space jump, I would need a jump. But in this case, I have a slide, so I'm going to consider it A-okay until white does some more stuff. So now I don't see any weak groups for me. I don't see any weak groups from him, so I'm going to play a big move. Okay, so next side is the bottom side, so I'm going to approach again. I think it's pretty common, pretty normal. So we're just going to approach, do the open side. All right. And we're going to do our slide again. All right, so in this case, we're actually going to find one of our first exceptions. We actually don't want to go here in this case because third line and third line is a little bit flat. So if you have a 3-4 right here, it's actually better to go to the fourth line, and you want to go one space. It's very solid, very safe. So I think this is a Joseki that you can learn, and the exception is when this is on the third line. So you want to go up to the fourth line, and I think that creates a nice combination. So this would be one of your exceptions. And as you learn and get stronger and go, you'll learn more and more exceptions. If you go flat here, that's okay. It's actually not the end of the world. But once you get to single digit Q, this is not going to be good anymore. So I thought this was a good learning opportunity, so I'm going to go ahead and play it. But again, the hint is when I have a third line stone here, and there's nothing of whites right here, then this just makes sense to do. Third line goes up to the fourth line and back down to the third line. And if white goes in, you just kick, and it's pretty easy to handle and keep your base. Okay, so white goes in here. Now, if you study the Chinese opening, apologies for the light. It's a motion sensor, and I haven't got a light set up yet, so apologies for that. I'll be working on improving this the more I do it. So right here, the Joseki for the Chinese opening is actually right here. You could also go right here and it's fine. But I'm gonna go ahead and do what I know, so that way you guys can actually see what you eventually should learn. If you don't know what to do here, just making bases. Like if you had gone right here, that's also fine. If you go right here, that's fine. All of that's fine at this level. But I think it's also good to show you guys correct play as well. And again, this is for the Chinese opening. This is the move. And if you don't know this move, don't play it, of course. Like, you need to study this before you can play it. You need to know the Joseki fully before you just play. Don't copy me blindly. Don't copy my Josekis without researching the Joseki. And that's also true when you research, like, when you see, like, higher level play. Like, I know everyone probably sees that attachment a lot. I really discourage you from copying that without doing your research, without studying what the variations are. Can you understand them? Can you play the follow-ups? And if you're constantly messing up the Joseki, then maybe just pick a simpler Joseki. Maybe a two space right here. Since fourth line goes down to the third line, I think it would also make sense, right? Maybe just pick a simpler Joseki if you can't follow it or understand it. All right, so in this case, the Joseki is here. So yeah, don't copy me blindly. I really want you guys to do your research. Don't play Joseki blindly. I cannot tell you how important this is. Think through your Joseki choices, do your due diligence, look it up, learn the variations, and give yourself options, and then play the board. All right, so the Joseki here is actually right here because I have a stone pincering white. It's important that I don't play here and play passive, but rather I play a little bit more aggressive and take the eye space. That's because of this stone here. This is the Joseki for the Chinese opening. Now, if you haven't researched this, this is okay. This is a little bit more single digit Q than double digit Q. I just want to show you guys like some things you'll learn in the future. So this isn't too important. If you just choose a simpler Joseki, it's perfectly fine. I want to show you guys more things. All right, and the next point of the Joseki is actually right here. This actually leads to some interesting stuff. Now, I know there's some new stuff. I was watching some Young Goosing videos, and there's more stuff. But I'm going to play the old stuff right now. I'm not going to worry about new stuff right now. And I also need to do more research myself for the new stuff. I'm not confident with the new stuff yet. All right, and here's where we get into some single digit Q variations. That's actually maybe a little bit tricky for you guys. So let's see if Rama actually knows this. Actually, I don't know if I want to test Rama here. Because technically we're getting into single digit Q territory, and that's not important. That's not the important stuff right now. So I'm just gonna actually seal, because I do have two fourth lines. Actually, no. I'm not even gonna do that because I was going for territory, and I'm ignoring the Clossi approach. That's bad. Okay, let's just stop. I'm not going to continue this because I think the follow-ups are more single digit Q than double digit Q. So I think up to this point, I've done all I can do for my double digit Q Joseki knowledge. Okay, so let's go back. Do I have any weak groups? Yes, I actually have a stone right here next to white, so this needs a base. So I can, one stone jumps two, but I have support on both sides, so I'm going to go fourth line. So I'm going to go right here. Ooh, chat's getting it good. Yeah, chat understands defense first. Defense first, defense first. And then I'll show you guys the variation in the oof. I'll show you guys more about this in the review. But okay, so with this one, this is actually a little bit above this level, but I actually should fix this. Um so the reason the hint for this is he has a stone right here and he has a stone right here. And then this is a 2 space onto the 4th line, not onto the 3rd line. This shape, when there's a stone here and here, has a weakness right here. So I need to fix it. We'll talk more about that in the review. But I think if you don't know about this weakness, you should ignore it and maybe go on the left. But I do know about this weakness, and I'm going to play defense first. And if you don't know it, it's fine. Just go on the left, and like if your opponent punishes you, then you learn a new pattern, and I think that's good. So I'm going to just fix. I think it's fine. I could fix through white shape, but that's single digit Q. So if you're looking at this push and like double peep, that's single digit Q options. That's not double digit Q. Just single purpose is double digit Q. All right. Hopefully, I don't actually know. Is it like really dark? Is my face like really dark right now? Like on this monitor, it looks fine, but on this monitor that I'm watching the stream on, it looks really dark. So hopefully it's not too bad. I need to get me some like ring lights in front of me. I gotta get ring lights. I gotta get a sound absorption. I gotta get a lot of stuff for this. All right, so he played here. Defense first. Do I need to defend anything? Not quite. I need to check my cutting points. Push, block, push, Atari. He Ataris. But if he pushes and I cut and then I Nobi, it's fine. So I actually know that this is fine, but I did lose a Liberty. So a 1 point jump that loses a Liberty, you got to be very, very careful right here. So if he wedges, I Atari, he connects, and I fix. And then he clamps, I push. That's a Atari, and then Atari, and then a Nobi, but I jump. That's a lot more than double digit Q can read. That's way, but I'm still fine. Like I know I'm fine, but let's just say you thought you're not. Okay. Maybe that's too much to read. So let's just say you think, okay, 1 point jump, I lost Liberty. I'm reading the cut, and it's too difficult to read, so it's too dangerous. So I'm gonna just fix. Um. Yep. So I'm just gonna fix. I could also fix right here. This might be double digit Q, but this is just better. This is just better. Single digit Q. I think I would push and then try to make a bamboo joint, or maybe push and then make it the table shape. I think that might be better for single digit Q, but this is fine for double digit Q. Actually, at single digit Q, maybe I would just ignore. Maybe no, that might be 5Q plus to ignore that. I don't know. It's hard to judge exactly what level some variations are. I can see all the variations and like, okay, which ones do the students see? As a 14Q, you vote for N6. All right. All right. So yeah, which one? I see like 3 or 4 variations. Like, okay, which ones would they actually see? Okay, so do we have to play defense? No, we're finally out of defense. Okay, can we play offense? Check the cutting points. Push, double peep. There's a cut right here, but it's just 1 stone, not the whole group. So it's fine. This shape is more or less okay. That's fine. Okay, so no weaknesses for white. Okay, so largest framework. Probably left. Probably left. Okay, so we can reduce on this line right here. So I can play a shoulder hit. I can play a cap. Um, I think those are the 2 basic options. Do I need to invade? This is a lot of empty space. So if there's a lot of empty space, I think reduction's fine. I'm not sure which one I want. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I shouldn't be comparing until single lich queue. I don't have my quarters. I can't flip a coin. Um, whatever. I'll just play one. Boom. I'll just play one. I don't have my quarter. Oh, someone said cap. Okay. You said it too late. 1 second too late. All right. 1 point jump is the follow-up to that. C12 is also fine. It's just an invasion, and invasions are just a little bit more riskier than reductions. So on an empty center, reductions are just easier. But C12 would have also been fine. I think C12 is fine as well. So is a C8 for this level. Like both of those are fine. I think like as long as you play on the left, you're fine. Just play one of your basic shapes on the left. The important thing is this is the important thing at double digit Q. It's making sure every single move is on the proper goal. It doesn't really matter if you do the goal well. That doesn't matter like hardly at all until once you're at single digit Q, it starts mattering a little bit better, a little bit more. But a double digit Q, it's more about being on the correct goal every turn. Okay, and our shape is here, so we're gonna do our shape. 1-point jump into 1-point jump, and we sacrifice the stone. Remember this variation. This is very important. This variation is a little difficult for double digit Qs, but if you remember it, it's a very powerful weapon at double digit Q. We give up the stone and just walk in. Remember that this is the sequence I've showed several times throughout the series, I think. And just walk in. Now we have 2 tiger's mounts. Okay, that's the sequence to break into this side. It's a very important sequence. If you had played right here, that's also fine. But the problem is this group is also limiting your influence. If you could attack this group in Sente and then play here, it would actually make a lot of sense. So it just depends on if you think white is weak or not. So this, I think this is an easy Atari and Tiger's Mouth. Boop. And this is like perfect shape for black. You're walking straight through white shape. If you just Nobied, it's also fine. This is just better. Nobi's probably simpler, but this is fine. 1-point jump is the correct response. I still have a weak group, so I'm going to play defense. Boop. Try to connect if I can. I could also run away this way. It's also fine. If I get cut off from right here, I'll go right here. Check my cut, but I have a ladder. Not quite a ladder, actually. Maybe this cut works. Maybe this cut works. I just assumed it didn't work. Oh, I did it bad. I just assumed the cut didn't work. This is the only move because I've already I can't just let him walk through my shape. So this is literally the only move. If he cuts, I Atari, and okay, and then I'll have to run this way. I have a cutting point, so I'm definitely gonna fix that. Like, I realized I made a small mistake. It's not quite a mistake. Like, it's not a mistake to play this Hane. It's just a mistake with our basics, if that makes sense. I knew the Hane was fine, and then I'm like, I forgot to apply my double digit Q basics. I just knew it was fine. But yeah, it's okay. It's okay. We fixed. We're all good. Everybody's happy. If you didn't see the Hana, or if you check the cut and you can't do it, then you can run this way with Panuki. You could run with a 1-point jump. That's fine. I just knew it worked by accident because the cut is just gonna lead to a lot of forcing moves for black to save himself. But it's okay. It's okay. I can't. It's fine. It's fine. Just defend yourself. That's all that matters. N15 is becoming big. This is not the biggest framework yet. The next big framework is actually the bottom. It's just a bit big. It's a little bit bigger than this one, but this one is maybe the second biggest. So you're close. So the top right is actually the second biggest, but the bottom's the biggest right now. H6 is good for black. Yes. For white, I think shoulder hit is one line further. So white, I think the move is actually there. But you might be watching the stream, so I don't want to talk about white's moves yet. I want to talk about white's moves in the review. All right. See, now this is actually what separates the double digit Qs from the single digit Qs. Is do I know what I should be doing? What should I be doing? And that's where you get something like this is getting on the bottom side, that's good. Versus I'm gonna push right here for no good reason because I saw it in some shape somewhere somehow. Like it doesn't make sense, right? It's not on the big frameworks or anything. I could play a Hane, but I have 2 cutting points, so I'm just gonna play a Nobi. I think it's just easier to read for this level. Hane should work though in this case because he has 2 Liberties after that. But 1 cutting point is a lot easier to read, or this cutting point is a lot easier to read, I think. So I'm just gonna play solid. It's okay if you play a little passive, as long as you can keep the game into something that you can read. So like being able to read your 3rd line cut, that's your 13 by 13 basics. So just keep it something that you can read and visualize. I think it's good. Okay, block. All right, double check the cut. So if he cuts here, I just push. That's easy. But if he cuts here and I push down and block, that activates this cut. So now if he cuts, I have to ladder him. That is important. Okay. Now, if I ladder him, I'm fine. So the cut still doesn't work, but it also means that if he pushes, I cannot Hane. Because now without this Liberty, if I Hane, that's 3 cutting points, and then he cuts, or he cuts right here, I can't push him down, so I have to Atari, and then he cuts right here or Atari's right here, and then it gets a little complicated. So what I'm going to do is just stop that immediately, because I don't want him pushing and activating the cut.
9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4.
Maybe it's double digit Q to fix this, but it doesn't work on this turn. I don't want you fixing it. If it doesn't work on this turn, don't fix it. Like, if it doesn't work on this turn, you shouldn't be fixing it. You should fix it when it activates. So I was like, I think maybe people would fix it, but... Okay, so now Atari, and now the ladder works, so I fixed my problems. Okay, now largest framework. This is 3 spaces. This is no longer framework. This is now territory.
10,
because this is
9,
not reducible.
7,
like there's no way I can get in there.
5,
so now
4,
the next one is here,
3.
and I'll go with the move that was suggested. Just build the top right. But this is now territory. This is no longer a framework. All right, so I'm gonna fix my cutting point. Like this is practically sealed. Here's another part that a lot of people struggle with. So one skill that you'll have to develop is how to deal with overtime. If you notice, I'm actually explaining exactly where to go in the time. You want to get to the point where you can understand what you should be doing within 5 to 10 seconds. After that, you spend the rest of the time debating which is the best way to do it. So for example, I know this does nothing to me attack and defense wise, so I know the largest framework is over here, so I need to be doing something over here or over here. Like that's the second largest framework, and I need to make that distinction. And
10,
I can make that in
9,
5 to 10 seconds,
8,
and then the rest of the time
7,
is just debating.
6,
Okay.
5, 4.
So I'll say
3.
whites is bigger now because I think whites canceled mine out quite well. So I'll say whites is bigger. And then we're actually about to start Yosei. This actually might be smaller than Yosei. So I might have made a mistake here, but it's fine. You'll make mistakes. I actually think I made a mistake. I think it's smaller than 1 quadrant, so I actually think it's Yosei. So I think this is a mistake, but it's fine. Even like I played the second biggest thing, and I was in overtime, and I was mostly trying to explain the overtime basics rather than figuring out where I actually was. But you want to be able to make that decision in 10 seconds and then just find the best way to do it. Okay, so defense, runaway. It's if you're wondering why the center looks like it's not Yosei, it's because you would have to activate a lot of forcing moves. Like for example, there's forcing moves on this group, there's forcing moves on this group, so black could potentially get another 5 points for free before Yosei. But if you don't know that, then you should start Yosei. Because if you're just playing a reduction on something that's smaller than a single center quadrant, you should be starting Yosei. But if you see forcing moves, then of course do this first. It's just better. Okay, defense first. And I'm not going to keep pushing here. I'm actually going to block because I actually realized I made a mistake. So I want to settle this as quickly as possible so I can start going to Yosei. Because I realized, hey, I'm actually in the wrong part of the board. So I'm still going to prioritize defense, but I'm going to try to get to Yosei as soon as possible. Hello, Roman. Okay, I have a cutting point. I wish I could ignore that. Uh, let's just fix. It's fine. But I'm desperately trying to get to Yosei. All right, that is pushing borders. That is Yosei. It's only a 2-space extension. So we're in Yosei, so second line Sentei. Boom. Second line Sentei. Boom. Second line Sentei. All right, second line Sentei. Second line Sentei. Second line Sentei. Second line Sentei. All right. First line Sentei. Okay. I don't know if I have any more first line Sentei. So push the border in Sentei. Boom. Push the border in Sentei. Push the border in Sentei. Okay, check the Goose Tsuji. I don't see anything. Okay, push the border in Sentei. Push the border in Sentei. Push the border in Sentei. Are we allowed to give moves? You can give me moves. It won't really change anything. I think we're out of maybe here, but I think that's Gote. I think we're out of Sentei moves. That also might be Gote, but maybe it's Sentei. Maybe at this level it's Sentei, but I think it's Gote. Okay, I think that's it. So now we need a big Gote move. That's a big one. That's fine. Just a big Gote move. Ta-da! And we played a good Yosei. Okay, I think we're still at big moves. So I guess just keep making points. Awesome. See, all right, like one video and you already found some help, Roman. That's great. That's great. Fix the cutting point that works, not the one that doesn't. That's important. Yeah, Sentei is absolutely more valuable in Yosei. It's insanely more valuable. Like if you look at the math behind it, it's so much more valuable. Fix defense first, defense first. There's actually really complex mathematics. Like I read a book once by a famous mathematician who solved the Yosei, and it was so advanced mathematics that I asked my mathematics major friend. I think he had like a master's in mathematics, and he read the book and he's like, I don't understand it. Like I no, he was going for his master's in mathematics, and he's like, I don't understand that book. So the mathematics in Yosei is actually super complex. Um, but there is very simple mathematics that you can apply that I will talk more about in single digit Q to prove or disprove. Um, why second line and first line Sente is more valuable. I can prove it with simple mathematics, which I will do at single digit cube. But for now, I kind of want you guys just doing it blindly. But I actually can prove it with some simple mathematics. Which if you watch my Yosei video on YouTube, you can see how to calculate. Or no, it's my counting video, I think, that learns how to count points. I think I did a Yosei video at some point.
8, 7.
Push. I don't know. I'm actually not sure what the big move is. I'm worried I'm gonna kill something by accident. Let's just block. N9. Yeah, it's Sente, but there's no points there. So it's Sente Dame. So you save that for co-threats. That's big, because that threatens a Sente move. Because we're out of really big Gote moves, so now we can play Gote moves that threaten Sente moves. This is actually really big for white. So that means I should get it. Because I think that's Sente for white. You can also start taking like reverse Sente is also good at this stage. Which means if it's Sente for your opponent, then it can be good. So like that one. I think this one's like really big for white because that's like super Sente for white. If he goes here, I have to play here. So I'm gonna play here. That's big. B18 is getting big. So if white goes, I block 2 liberties. So white turns, I Hane 2 liberties to 3 liberties. I'm fine. Okay. That's big. That's big.
10.
That one. That one threatens a push. So it threatens a Sente move. Okay. This is getting big. I think these are bigger than this because this is Gote for white. These are Sente for white. So let's go here or here or here.
9, 8, 7, 6, 5.
I don't know. Let's guess. Let's just guess. I could count it, but I don't want to. That's cheating. Like counting is cheating at double digit Q. I'm not trying to kill anything. That's I see cutting points and I see that, but like that's not the goal. The goal is not to do that right now. You start checking like cutting points life and death at like single digit Q. Like if I thought it was unsettled, then I would attack it as a double digit Q, but I don't think this is obvious to a double digit Q. I think this one's a little too much. That is Dame, so I don't care. I'm still connected to my base, so I'm fine. So let's block that. Now this one's getting big. And this one is now big too, because that's Sente for us now. Is there a Goose Tsuji in here? If I do a double peep. If he loses these liberties, and I do a double peep. Nothing. Man. Nothing. There's no Goose Tsuji. Oh well, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. Now there's a point or two in there, so let's reduce. Hane actually works. Actually, this one might be bigger. Yeah, first line Sente first. First line Sente before center Sente. That works, but that works. It's fine. It's whatever. It's whatever. I can cut, he takes, then Atari. And yeah, it's fine. It's fine. Just reduce. Just reduce. Just reduce. Just reduce. Just reduce. Just reduce. Deuce. That's a Yosei Tsuji that's actually quite common. Like, I think I will not let you get away with not knowing that at single digit Q. Like, double digit Qs is like 50-50 if they know it or not. But at single digit Q, if you don't know that, you're gonna just lose, or you should anyway. You have to know this by single digit Q, but it's fine. I can go here, I can go here, I can go here. Let's just reduce. Let's just keep reducing. Clamp at S5. Clamp is definitely not double digit Q. Clamp at S5 is definitely single digit Q. Double digit Qs don't know clamp. Just block my points. Just big move. Block. All right, now there might be points in here, so now it might start being important to reduce. Block. My area is definitely bigger than that. So if he pushes, I'm definitely gonna block. Um, B1 is a little bit small compared to like B18 because this is 1 point for us and half a point for white. The reason is if white hanes and I block, white cannot connect because it's a self Atari. So it's half a point for white, 1 point for us. So it's a point and a half compared to this one, which is actually more points.
7, 6.
Let's start
5,
pushing.
4.
Like I can prove things are bigger or not bigger, but if you don't understand it, just look at it, does black get something and does white get something? And this one, does black get something and does white get something? So this one, black gets something, but white doesn't. And this one, black gets something and white gets something. So that means that one has to be bigger than that one. But if you don't understand that, it's fine. It's not the most important thing yet. You'll learn that at single digit Q. Push. I'm so worried I'm gonna kill this by accident. I'm about to kill it by accident. It's gonna happen. Push. No, I won't. No, I won't. He'll make it meant for. It's fine. He's not gonna die. He's not gonna die. I'm gonna make him live. He's not gonna die. Up at high rank, how do I suggest using the Yosei at higher ranks? So um at dawn level, you actually sacrifice a Biyoyomi period to identify all the Yosei points. And then you're supposed to count each one and just go for the largest value. Like largest Sente value. Like you should be able to identify Sente versus double Sente versus Gote at dawn level. Um you should be able to identify all of it. And then you're supposed to calculate each one. And you should be able to do the quick math like very, very quickly. So you got to be able to find all the in-game points and count them all in 55 seconds, and then you just go for the biggest one, and you just go in order. So you'd want to get to the point where you can identify all the in-game points and count them in 55 seconds.
6, 5.
That's the answer at dawn level. Is to just find them all, like sacrifice a period to find all of them and then count. That is the dawn answer. Yeah, a lot of the shapes are very similar, so you can just like for example, pushing right here to the diagonal is 15 points. You should just know that. So you know that this one's 15 points. This one's like 3 points or 2 points. This is double gote, so it's actually 2 points. And this one's a point and a half. Because it's 1 point for black, and it's Sente for white to push, but also white loses half a point. So like you can double it because it's Sente, but it's also half Gote. So I would just say it's a point and a half just for ease of counting. I would say that's a point and a half. Or maybe half a point even.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6.
Yeah, dawn level you should just. Well, yeah, dawns should have good intuition. Like you don't be a dawn player without a lot of practice. But if you want the correct answer, you're supposed to count it all. Like that's technically what you're supposed to do. I guarantee you, if you count it at dawn level, you can probably improve your in game by 5 points. When I was actually a 4 dawn, this was during the Leech. This is a snapback, so that's important. That's a goose to Suji if I ignore. When before Lee Sedol, there was Lee Chang-ho, right? Lee Chang-ho actually popularized Yosei in the pro world because he would just constantly win because of his Yosei. And it would always find like 2 or 3 points against other pro players in Yosei. And 2 or 3 points at the pro level is like insanely huge. It's like me trying to find like 15 to 20 points against you guys. That's 2 points at the pro level. It's like 20 points at our level. So it was insanely huge. Um, so when I was this was like about 2014. I was studying in Korea, and it was popularized in Korea, and it usually takes about 2 years. What things that happen in Asia usually take about 2 years to get to the West. So when I came back from Asia, my end game was probably like 10 points better than everyone else's online
10,
at the and I was
9,
playing at a 4 down level at
8,
that time.
7,
Um
6, 5,
just play
4,
Big
3,
Gote.
2,
So whenever I played online as a rated game as a 4 if I could make it to end game, I was confident I would win, like every single time. Now, pretty much every Dawn player has a decent end game, so it's not as easy as it was back then because now everyone's intuition is just kind of like everyone's just been trained better with Yosei. It just everyone just understands it better. But back then, if I made it to end game at Fordon, I was gonna
10,
win because my end
9,
game was just like 5 to 10
8,
points better than theirs.
7, 6,
So this is
5,
2 points. This is a point and a
4,
half. Oh, I'm counting
3,
it. What? Just by habit, I'm calculating the USA. Oh my gosh. That was an accident. I actually wasn't supposed to do that. I was like, okay, this is this, this is this, this is this. That's just by habit. I just do that. Well, I hear the clock. I'm like, okay, let's find the best move. And see, this is what I want you guys to do, right? Build the habit to where you're accidentally playing good basics, okay? Where you're accidentally calculating the Yosei, where you're accidentally reading and comparing, okay? Just by accident, I'm applying like Dawn level basics. Okay, this is what you want to do is build the habit to where you have like you just accidentally just make the right choices. Um yeah, that like if you're a Todd player and you don't do that accidentally, maybe you should build the habit, right? Um, so if you're applying the Clossi approach, I don't like talk about Yosei a ton. I mean, I show you guys how to do it. But if you're applying the Clossi approach, you should actually you'll make it to Yosei more than you would if you um didn't. And the reason is usually double digit Qs games are decided by large chunks because of large mistakes. So it's not really decided by Yosei exactly. But once you stop dying with the Clossi approach, defense first. Once you stop dying, you're gonna win until your opponents stop dying. And then once you stop dying and your opponents stop dying, then Yosei becomes insanely important. Like once everyone stops dying, okay, now it's gonna be decided by points. Therefore, you, therefore Yosei becomes important. Um
10,
da, da, da,
9,
da.
8,
This cut doesn't work on
5,
this turn, but I can't
6,
reduce with these cuts.
5,
And there's nothing else to
4,
do.
3,
So I'm gonna
2,
fix. There's nothing else for me to do. Yeah, Yosei's an amazing subject. That's a co-threat, so I'll save that till the very end. This is a point, I believe, because it activates. Does it activate? Yes, I think it activates this because that's a point. It's fine. Yeah, I mean it's important if you mess it up, and that's a good way to lose the game right there. It's a goose to Suji, right? Goose to Suji is not a real Go term, by the way. If you're watching this on YouTube, it's one of our chat terms. It's one of the one. It's a Clossi term of where you play Dame and it activates. Oops, cutting points, bad stuff at the end. It's just the the end of the game. Oops. We like to call that a goose to Suji. So I think that would have activated a goose to Suji. Don't worry, distracted. Like I want you guys to ask questions because if I don't explain something and you guys don't understand it, then people at YouTube might also not understand it. So feel free to ask. I actually encourage you guys to ask, even if it's a dumb question. Like if someone on YouTube in the future might not know it, right? So it's good to ask questions. And not just for your benefit, but for the other people's
9,
benefits as well.
8,
All right, now I'm just gonna
7,
start filling
6,
dame.
5,
So when you
4.
fill dame, there actually is a good order to fill dame. Uh, this actually can matter. When you fill dame, it's all neutral points, but fill the ones that are riskier first. Fill the ones that you might accidentally like go blind on first. Like anything that you might like self Atari or activate a cutting point. If you have like for example, if white was here and I had a liberty or something, and if I fill that liberty, it activates a cut. I'm gonna fix the cut first. That's the first thing I'm gonna do. If I have to fix the cut, no matter what, I'm gonna fix my cuts first.
10,
I'm gonna fix the
9,
goose to Suji's
8,
first,
7,
just in
6,
case I brain
5.
fart. Okay, that happens. Like if you're in a tournament and you've been playing this game like for an hour and a half, like my games in tournaments take like 3 hours. Okay, if you've been thinking for 3 hours, it's very easy to brain fart right at the end. Okay, so fill the important dame first. Fill the oops dame first. That way, you don't accidentally kill yourself right at the end of a 3 hour game. There is dame right there, but it's online, so it doesn't matter.
Remove the dead stones.
All right. That all looks good. Looks like I win by something.
You have won.
62 and a half. I couldn't figure out if it was 62 or 63. I was confusing myself. That's what I mean about brain farting. I was like, it's either 62 or 63. It's one of those. 62 and a half. Thank you for the game, Rama. Thank you for the game. All right. All right, all right, all right.
Review started.
All right, so let's review. Okay, now most of our moves are generally correct. But here's the important thing. So when you're 15Q to 10Q, this is the most important part of getting to single digit Q. It's reviewing your games and figuring out what is the weakest part of my game. And that's what you work on for the next 5 to 10 games. Okay, and then you review, am I doing that better? Am I doing that better? And then once you say, okay, I'm doing that decent, and it's no longer the weakest part of my game, you start reviewing, you start looking for other stuff. So this is that's what we're gonna do. Okay, so I played big moves. So I think we're gonna focus on white at this point. Okay, so this one actually is wrong direction to play. This is choosing Joseki for direction to play. So what's the correct direction to play? It's the open side, right? So what you do is black didn't approach you from this side. Black approached you from this side. So that's the open side. Now, if your opponent approaches you from that side, I mean, feel free to take the open side. But the way you visualize it is you take away the approach and you say, which one is bigger? This one's clearly bigger. It's much more distant, right? So you need to choose a Joseki that goes that way. I'm like, okay, you're going Sanrensei, you're going for Moyo, then maybe 2 space high. Maybe go high for an influence. And then boom, 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 and then boom. Okay, we choose a Joseki, we get our influence. All of a sudden, we're in the right direction to play. We're getting influence, we've stopped black's combination on top, we're making sure that we play proper direction to play. Okay? And then we can play this one. This goes into a Sanrensei opening, which I'm sure a lot of people know. Okay? And now we've made the top bad for not really bad for black, but it's not good for anyone. So we've stopped black's combination and we've made our own. It's really nice. If there was important stuff on top, let's say there wasn't a Moyo, then you would just play this way and you'd say, okay, now I'm on top and you're on the left, but the top was the place to be. Now in this case, it breaks your combination. Combinations kind of outweigh that. You'll learn more about that with researching openings, but for now, just understand like if you're supposed to follow direction of play. So this would be the first thing I would think about is like, how is my opening? Let's go through my basics, go through the Clossi Approach. For each and every step of the Clossi Approach, which one did I do? Did I just play Joseki blindly? Well, there we go. Stop doing that. Now we have something to work on immediately. Okay, work on that for the next 5 games. You can improve your opening. All right, so let's keep going. All right, this is actually a very nice move. 3-3 can actually be considered as big as an open side. If a 3-3 has a double wing, this isn't quite double digit Q. This is more like you either know it or you don't. So if there's a double low wing for a star point, 3-3 is huge because it makes one of these stones bad. Yeah. So that is that. This is just Joseki. It's black's choice, so you don't really get to choose here. I like that you just settled. That's pretty nice. All right, black plays, and then you play defense again. Well, imagine like I go here. Who got more? because you already have that. So you made a combination here. I made a combination here. So mine's definitely bigger. So pincer, right? I mean, and this is fine. That's fine. And then you break black's combination. Now this one, black didn't have a big combination, but you saw that that bottom became really large for black. That became like the largest framework after the left side. So, I mean, you could have stopped that immediately while still keeping the left side. Like if you just compare this to this, like this to this one, this to this. Okay, you still have you get a little bit more of the corner, so black gets a little bit more of the corner, but you stop black's combination in exchange, and you still have the left side. So yeah, I would say in this game, white's opening Joseki direction of play. That's something you can immediately work on. So it's just a matter of identifying like what part of the game do I need to work on. This was good. This is definitely the biggest framework. And you made a base, perfectly fine. This is Joseki, and for those who don't know, that's the Joseki, and then white's alive, I believe. And you need to know the life and death in here as well, which I don't know it offhand, but I'm confident I could read it. If black tried to kill me, I would just read it. I just know white's alive, and I can ignore, and then I just read it if it comes up. I'm confident enough in my reading that I could just read that out. I didn't do that. I just played defense first, which is make a base. White played here. Now this one I wanted to point out there is a double peep, so there's that. Be careful about that. And now if I ignore and just go on the left, like invade or reduce or whatever, there is a weakness right here. This has to do with low going to high with a 2 space instead of a 1 space. So instead of like if you're worried about that shape, then you can do like here where low goes to high with a 1 space instead of a 2 space because the 2 space has more Aji. 2 space low is a lot safer. There is Aji in here, but it's a lot easier to manage. This one has a little bit more difficult Aji because when you do that, you can see 6 gets cut off. So it's actually a lot more dangerous Aji. So it's a little bit more difficult to read and play. So if you struggle with that, then just make it 1 space instead. That's fine. That's fine. So when he does this, this actually activates that because I know how to deal with it, but I also know that this activates it. So I fixed. Okay, if you didn't know, then don't do it, right? But if you think that's too confusing, just go 1 space when you go low to high. It's a little bit safer. It's a little bit slower, but it's a little bit safer, and you'll be fine until single digit Q. So I just fixed because I knew that activated it. We talked about that already. Now white played defense. White is out. White needs to understand if he's alive or not. I'm assuming white knows he's alive, but actually I'm not convinced he is because if I do this double peep and reduce, that's not a living shape. That is not a. That's a bulky 5. So I'm actually not convinced that white is perfectly okay here. So maybe you should have lived and let white have Sente. White is out, but that doesn't mean you're not attackable. Like, this is a common misconception. Just because you're out doesn't mean you're out from the line of influence. Like, look at that line for black. Look at that line. What matters is can black bully you? You're not going to die. I'm not saying white's going to die. But let's say white goes here and like, I'm going to build left. Well, I'm going to attack because I know you're not alive. If you knew that, I'm going to attack. Are you going to live? Well, guess what? I got 1 free move and now I can reduce while building. Oops. All of a sudden black got more because of free exchanges. Are you going to run? Okay, now I'm going to get even more. Now I'm going to get even more. Okay? And now I'm going to do it. The weaker you are, the more forcing moves I get. So it doesn't matter if you're going to die. I'm not trying to kill you. I'm not like, so this is not good for white. That's why you don't ignore weak groups. Now, understanding if you can attack is actually a difficult judgment call. So I understand you Tanuki'd right here, but I really think maybe this is something that you need to improve on. I'm not sure. I'm actually not sure what the level is to understand if this is weak or not. But after a certain point, you'll improve your judgment for certain things being weak or not weak. And weak does not mean you're going to die. It does not mean you're going to die. Weak means you are going to get bullied and your opponent is going to get positive exchange rates. No, that's not my wife. That is my brother. Weak means your opponent can get positive exchange rates against you. Okay, that is what weak means. Does not mean that you're gonna die. So if you're anywhere around that line of influence without two eyes, then you can get bullied by getting threatened to get behind that line of influence or trapped behind that line. Sorry for the noise, guys. I apologize about that. Okay, so let's go ahead and wrap this video up as soon as we can. But just make sure you understand that. Make sure you understand that you're determining if this is weak or not comes with study and improvement and blah 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 blah. But I don't know exactly what level you learn this, but you push the eye space, and see what the shape is. That's how you determine if you're alive right now or not. And then you also consider what is your distance from the line of the influence. Okay, if you're behind that line, you're definitely weak. If you're on the line, you're weak. If you're past the line and your opponent can't put you behind in one or two moves, you're fine. But it all has to do with can your opponent play forcing moves against you? Can your opponent threaten you to kill you with follow-ups? Can your opponent force it into a life and death situation? It's all about those forcing moves. So the rule of thumb, I give you guys easy rule of thumbs to follow, which is behind that line or on that line without two eyes. It's a weak group. Okay, that's just your rule of thumb. But as you get stronger at like maybe 5Q plus, you need to understand actually why that is, and we'll talk about that at 5Q plus. But right now, I just want you guys following that rule of thumb, because it's not about dying; it's about positive exchange rates. So here, I think this is fine. I think this like this one actually isn't as good as this one if we're just focusing on the left. If we're just doing single purpose, this is better. But if we're doing double purpose, this depends on if this is an influence or not. This is not an influence if both sides are Gote, but if one side's Sente, then I can build because now it actually is developable. Like I can actually move up. At that point, you would apply the basic of reduce while building. So that's, I know someone mentioned this. Well, that was determined by if this was attackable or not. And I had ruled for this game in my head that this was not attackable. So I was just focusing on the left. Like improving your judgment comes with a lot of experience and practice, but using basics followed up with from your judgment and being consistent with it is more useful than having perfect judgment. Like if you can be on a good area or the correct area of the board every single turn, you're single digit Q. Because I guarantee you're wasting moves in your games. If you're double digit Q, you are wasting moves somewhere, and you need to identify where. Okay, so this is fine. This is my basic shape. For whites, if you needed to handle this shape, it is a clamp and then block. This is above double digit Q. This double digit Q answer is actually just turn right here. That's how you block this shape. If you know it, you know it. If you don't, then just turn. But pushing and cutting, that's a mistake. That's how this whole shape works, is that this cut doesn't work. So just learning that new pattern. Like, okay, that's something to learn. Like, oh, there's a new pattern. Okay, you're reviewing your games. Maybe there's a pattern that happens often that you keep messing up. Ask someone for help. They point out how that pattern works and they explain the pattern to you. Or you watch a lecture where the pattern gets explained. All of a sudden, okay, now I know I have one more pattern that I can use over and over and over. Now I know how to stop messing up that pattern. Okay, but if you don't, you can't like get cut off like this. That's bad. So the answer was to just play defense and defense like that, like this, and like this. Just play defense here. Just block was the answer. The cut was a trap. This is a trap. This is a trick. But now you know it for the future. You've learned a new shape. Learn something from every loss, and it'll add up. With hundreds of games, like imagine it takes like 1,000 good quality games of you trying to improve to get to one don. It takes me a little bit more than 1,000, maybe 2,000. Let's say 2,000 good quality games to get to one don. In a ballpark figure, right? Learn something from every loss, and that's like 2,000 things that you could learn if you learn something from every single game. That's like 2,000 things you can learn. So just learn a shape. There you go. So in this case, I would say this shape and Joseki's direction of play for Joseki's. That's two things right there. All right. Okay, so we've learned two things for white. And let's see. This is all fine, and you played here to stop black's influence, perfectly fine. I fixed my cutting mode's fine. When we played here, you could actually play right here. This is more the line of influence. This one, actually, this one's better for, excuse me, for easy to understand shape at this level. This one has easier follow-ups. This one says I'm going to reduce while building, but you're not building very much because there's an easy turn right here. Because of this stone, there's not hardly anything there. One side needs to be higher than the other in Sente.
Domino's with the pizza delivery.
I'll eat it after I'm done streaming, but thank you. So I would say this would have been better here. I would say focus more on the reduction because you aren't building very much. So line of influence here. This is all fine. This actually didn't make sense. Maybe you were playing defense here. I didn't understand why you didn't keep pushing. Because I thought you were playing a reduction. This is more along the lines of what I expected, or just Tanuki and start Yosei. So this is one of the ones that didn't make sense to me. Is like it doesn't feel like it's on the big thing to do. Like you lost Sente for no good reason. So I would say this is the third thing is don't identify moves that aren't on the big thing, that aren't the only important thing. There's two right there. You got confused? Gotcha. It's just largest framework. Black has the largest framework here, and the second largest framework is here. So you could have reduced. You could push to reduce. That's what you want is reduction. And as long as you identify that, so maybe it's more understanding reduction. Maybe you struggle with reduction. So I would say let's identify three things. Joseki direction of play. This shape right here, understanding that shape and pattern, and then understanding to reduce on the largest framework if it's your opponent's. If your opponent has the largest framework, it's bigger than yours. Don't play on it. And the way to play it is reduce it. Reduce it on the line of influence. So I would say there's three things right there that can immediately improve your game. Okay. And then ways to identify this is you review your games and figure out. Let's say you ask for a review. Like we have the supporter reviews constantly on Twitch, right? Or you have game reviews on Twitch. You can ask someone for game reviews on the OGS forums, Discords, whatever. Okay, it's easy to get game reviews. Okay, so let's say you're wanting to identify a common theme from these game reviews. Then you need to figure out, is it direction of play? Like which part of the game is it? Like not everyone can just tell you exactly what to do. They'll just point out, here's the bad moves. Okay, it's your job to translate the bad moves into patterns that you are constantly repeating. So if you get 3 game reviews and they point out like all the wrong moves, figure out, is there one of the basics that you are constantly messing up in those 3 reviews, in those 3 game reviews? Is there a basic that is constantly being pointed out? So like direction of play, reductions, invasions, some section of the game. You need to figure out what is the common things that you are messing up. What is constantly being messed up? Not just one time that you messed it up. Like that's just a shape or a pattern, or maybe you brain farted, right? It doesn't matter. What matters is what are the common things that are repeating? What is your commonly repeating mistakes? Identify that and then work on it. And then when you review your own games, ask yourself, how did I do with that? So I just pointed out 3 things that you can work on. So for the next 10 to 20 games, you need to focus on those 3 things and review it yourself and say, did I do it? Did I do it? Did I do it? And then when after you've played like 10, maybe 10 games or something, working on specifically that, get another review and say, okay, this is what I've been working on. How did I do with this? Am I messing up something else? Because a lot of times you'll work on one thing, and because you're hyper focusing on that thing, you mess up something else that you were doing correctly before. That's how bad habits form, right? You forget something. And that's fine. But you keep up that process, work on the thing you're messing up, get a review, figure out if you did it correctly or if you need to keep working on it, and then figure out what you're messing up now. And then you play another chunk of games, review yourself to see if you're working on that thing, and then you get another review and you ask, what am I doing wrong? What's the worst part of my game? Whatever. You identify it, and then you work on that for the next thing. You just keep up that process. Okay, just keep repeating that process, and eventually you'll get down the basics, right? You'll get these basics down. So at 15Q to 10Q in this portion of the Clossi approach, it's going to be understanding how to identify parts of your games and what to work on. What basics are you missing? Because if you watch the 19Q to 15Q portion, that tells you all the basics you need to get to single digit Q. Like we literally did it. But at this point, at 15Q to 10Q, it means you have some of them, but you're missing others. That's what these ranks mean. At least in 2021, that's what these ranks mean. I don't know if the ranks will change, but at this section, that's what that means. And it's just about identifying in reviews what part of the game are you messing up, and then just work on it, work on it, work on it, work on it, work on it. And it comes with practice. Like, play your games in chunks of 10, because one thing I think that can be very discouraging is you trying to expect yourself to magically be able to improve. Like, let's say you messed up Joseki's, and you say, okay, next game I'm going to work on Joseki's, and you work on Joseki's, like, okay, now I'm done, what's the next thing I need to work on? No, you can't just all of a sudden build a habit with one game. You're not going to be able to build and fix bad habits or build good habits with one game. You need to reinforce it like 5 to 10 to 20 games. So I would say working on some things in chunks of 10 gives you the amount of time to practice and review that it can really help you. And sometimes some things that you'll actually take more than 10 games to build a habit of. And I want you guys to really do that, because you need hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of games to level up in this game. So hopefully you guys found that helpful. And yeah, hopefully that makes sense. We will do more examples and reviews. We'll have 4 more of these, and then we'll finally start working on the single digit Q stuff. So yeah, hopefully you guys did find that helpful. And yeah, thank you, Rama, for volunteering. Hopefully that gave you some stuff to work on, and hopefully you'll have more practice. But yeah, so that'll be it for the Clossi approach recording. We are getting a little bit loud here because people are working on the lights and stuff, and they're trying to open a store soon. But hopefully it'll be better in the future, noise-wise. But yeah, hopefully you guys did find that helpful. I will go ahead and conclude the stream here. Don't forget at 5 for the viewers. Let's just conclude the video here. So this will be the end of the YouTube video. So thank you all for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I look forward to seeing you guys next time.